Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flizanes, your empowerment strategist and producer. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about whether you're growing or stalling. And for those of you that follow the show regularly, you may have noticed that this show is a little late in terms of the day of the week from my normal publication date. And I want to just talk about that for a second because it was a struggle. It was a struggle. I've announced several times that starting in 2023, my production schedule will be reduced. I will be doing 2 episodes a month. That is what I'll commit to. And occasionally, I'm sure if I feel inspired, I will record something, although I may reserve it for the Empower You membership because they pay. And so I may just put it there. But I do want to get used to and get you used to being able to go back into the catalog of all of the content. I've spent so many years, 8 years now, creating content, a lot of it, and like so many shows, over 1,000 episodes. I've got a YouTube channel with, a ton of videos on it. I have so much free content, and it's not fluffy entertainment content. I don't just come on and tell jokes. As you know, I'm not actually that funny, only sometimes. But I want to educate, inspire, move you. I want to move you. I want you to grow. Well, I don't want you to grow. I want you to want to grow. And if you want to grow, I want to be on the path and journey with you. You wouldn't be listening to the show if you didn't have a desire to grow in some way. I know I attract truth seekers and people looking for change. I know that because I trigger everybody else. And I'm fine with that because that's just how we're different. So today, I will be sharing an old episode I did called How Can I? Because as I was sitting here thinking about what to record for you today, I've had 3 different titles that will eventually make it here. One is Why Mindset Doesn't Work. And then yesterday I had a really good inspiration about having the hard conversation because when I was home for the holidays, I had a very hard conversation. And I know a lot of you out there are waiting to have a hard conversation with someone that you love or afraid to have the hard conversation or even afraid to have the hard conversation with yourself about your life and where you're going and what you're doing. At this point, I've had so many shows on different topics that cover what I'm about to cover, but obviously there's timing, divine timing, when you're ready to hear it. For those of you that work with me, you know that when I read The Big Leap the first time, I wasn't in a space to receive it. And I put it down. It didn't change me. And then when Doug and I got together and I was going to interview Gay Hendricks for the first time, I thought, I should read the book again. Hey, Doug, let's read it together. And then all of a sudden, not only did I have accountability for reading it together, we did the work. So I didn't read it and just move on. And I want to make a correlation right now about that because a lot of you who listen to this podcast, you might be multitasking or driving and you listen and maybe you feel inspired and your emotions change when you listen. Maybe I infuse some empowerment into you or confidence or excitement about the future. But then the topic of today's show is, are you growing or are you stalling? Because a lot of you get excited about where you want to go and you talk about where you want to go and you think that that's enough. But my question is, what are you doing about it? What actions are you doing about it? What actions are you taking about it? And I know there's a lot of you out there. Some of you are new to me recently. I'm doing a podcast tour, so I'm out there in the world sort of sharing the work that I'm doing and seeing who is interested and wanting to come along for the journey. So if you're new, welcome. I appreciate you. And if at some point we are not in alignment, that's okay too. So know that I am not going to try to push you anywhere. I'm going to try to pull you. And I'm going to try to pull you based on where it is that you want to go, nothing to do with me. I don't care. It's not my life. It's yours. It's none of my business what you do or don't do. But I know, or I feel like I know, that if you're listening to me and you're listening to the show, you have a desire to grow. So my question is, what are you doing? Are you invested? Do you have accountability in growing? Or are you just listening and listening and listening and listening and, oh, that's nice, and I'd like to do that, and maybe someday I'll do that. And then the next question I have is, how many times have you asked yourself, or how many times have you said to yourself, when is someday? Have you been, someday I'll do that 5 years ago? Are you finding yourself in a marriage that you wonder when it's going to get better, maybe you have tools, maybe you don't, and you just keep sort of waiting. That would be considered stalling. And for those of you that think, no, it's not, I'm having hope. I'm wanting to make it better. I'm hoping, I'm waiting. There is growth in that. And I'm living proof, in my life that I created my show to help save my marriage. Now, it was clear that my marriage wasn't supposed to be saved when it all was said and done. And the lessons that I learned along the way are amazing. In fact, right now, I have the 6-month deep dive coming up in January, and 4 out of the 6 spots are already taken. And one of those spots has been taken by, there's 2 men in the group so far and 2 women. And one of the gentlemen in the group really has a similar story to my ex-husband. And I even told him this week, and if you're listening, you know who you are. And I cried and I said, thank you. I'm honored to be on this journey with you because I think I'll be healing also, because I never got the opportunity to take what I learned and help my ex through his pain. I never got to do that with him. And I wasn't the person who's supposed to, and who knows if he ever will, but it doesn't matter. I've worked so hard and I've put so much energy into trying and being the best I could be and growing and understanding and being compassionate and learning. I mean, that's why I have all this content. It came from my own personal experience of wanting better in all ways, better business, better health, better life, better relationships, better marriage, better everything. And when I was in it, I was still happy, and you wouldn't have known the difference. In fact, if you go back and listen to the first 2 years of Fit to Love, or the first year, I was in a marriage that if you were on the inside of it, you would know that nobody was happy. I mean, we weren't getting from each other what we wanted, but I wasn't an unhappy person. In fact, I was the opposite. I was a happy person because I didn't lay my happiness in front of him and said, you are responsible for my happiness. Hence why I learned all these tools. Because we are the beings that we are, because we are more non-physical than we are physical, because we're energy, we're constantly being given the choice of growing. And some people will say, I'm sure you've heard it, growing or dying. Well, I don't necessarily believe that we're dying, but you're growing or you're stalling. That's what I think. You have an opportunity through the contrast in your life every day to make a new choice about if you look at what is or if you look at what you want. If you give your energy, attention, and vibrate at the place of your current physical reality, or if you trust on a deeper level the non-physical reality of where you're going and allow that trust to unfold and allow things to come into your life that you aren't in control of, but you will be manifesting. That is your option every day. And if you're afraid of all of it, then I don't necessarily think you're dying, but you are sure as shit stalling. Ask yourself, how much resistance do you have to change? How much resistance do you have to investing in yourself? How much resistance do you have to trusting on a deeper level that everything is working out exactly the way it should for you, and that there are signs and messages coming to you that you may be ignoring because you're too afraid of taking the leap? Whether it be because you're afraid of the unknown on the other side, or if you're afraid that you're making a mistake, or that you're afraid that the uncomfortableness of what I know is better than the fear of what I don't know. I know there's another saying for that, and I totally butchered it, but you get the gist, that sometimes we just stay stalled because it's more comfortable. It's called upper limiting. It's called your upper limiting because you don't believe you deserve more. And you may say, oh, no, I know I deserve more. And I would say, well, then what are you doing to show the universe and yourself on a bigger level that? How are you investing in you to do that? So before I play the episode, How Can I, again for you, and even if you have heard it, it is worth listening to several times. It's one of my top favorites. It's one that when I go back to my community and ask, and you are a part of my community, but if I don't know your name, it's because you're on the outside. You're on the outer circle versus the inner circle because you haven't stepped forward to say, hey, I'm interested in whatever it is that you're doing. So I'm going to run through a bunch of different ways to get more involved, and with different levels and based on where you want to go. And so if you're somebody who really doesn't have a plan, like I want to ask you right now, what is your plan for 2023? And I can tell you what my plan is. I won't go into detail, but 2023, I have very specific needs. I have purchased a course. Actually, I've purchased 2 courses. One of them I'm going to complete before the end of the year, and the other one, and if I don't do it for whatever reason, because I want to clean my office because I'm building a new bathroom, then that's fine. Then I will do both courses starting in January. I have my 12-month mastermind. I've got my 6-month deep dive group, both which also keep me accountable to doing the work. And after that, I'm not taking on any coaching clients. I've got another business that I'm starting, and I am focusing on that. I want to travel for my birthday. I have hired somebody here locally who I actually don't meet locally. I do it over Zoom, but who's helped me with some things that I'm working on, and I will continue to do the work there. I continue to do all of my exercise and my acupuncture, and I'm going to the gym, and I have all accountability for that. And there we go. So that's just sort of the overview of where I'm going. And at the end of this year, when I do my New Year's list and look back at all my accomplishments and then do my goals, I'm excited to create a next level allowing. Now, that all probably sounds structured. And for some of you, maybe if you don't have a business, you think, well, why would I do that? But you could do it personally. In fact, I have a handout that, and I can't even tell you what it is. It might be jjflizanes.com/NYE, New Year's Eve. You can check it out. And if it's wrong, then just send me a message. But I have a handout, and it's a list of questions. Oh my God, now I'm just thinking about who's going to be with me for New Year's, and I'm so excited to do it with them. Oh, they don't even know. It's going to be awesome. It's this little ritual that I do every New Year's, and up until now, I've been with another friend who bailed on me recently, and I've replaced him. And now it's going to even be better. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. So here are some of the things. And if I just want you to check in right now, I'm about to list for you a couple of different programs that I have and ways for you to get involved and to get support and education and up level. And if your brain goes, oh, I'm not, okay, she's just going to try to sell me right now. If that's where you go, that's a huge red flag. Why? Because it says, I feel like you're trying to manipulate me or something. Somebody that can't listen to an offer or an invitation, there's an upper limit there. If you want to manifest more money in your life, if you want to manifest more good and you have this resistance to hearing someone else's offer to you, just take a note of that. And whether you skip forward or not, just take a note, because if you have scarcity of money in that way, you're never going to get over that by continuing to reject or to move away from or resist entertaining or hearing some way to better yourself. All right. So I just want to put it out there, because I know I've seen that in people who don't work for themselves, or they're not in any kind of business that has sales in any way, and they get very uncomfortable. And it's a red flag. It's a red flag, and it will stop you from manifesting more money. All right. So let's go over from cheapest, least expensive up. Or maybe I should go the other way. Yeah, let's go most expensive down. As of right now, as of the recording of this intro to the podcast, I have one space left in the Inner Circle Mastermind, and that would be for anybody who is wanting to start a business or has a side business or has a full-time business and wants to improve themselves in all levels, mind, body, and soul, spirit, making sure that you are coming from a place of deep connection, intuition, and trust as you run your business, as you choose what to do with your business, and that it's fully integrated into your life and you're not prostituting yourself in business only for money and sacrificing relationships, health, and happiness. Okay? So JJ's InnerCircleMastermind.com. I will list that link in the show notes. Next, as of the recording for this, I have 2 spaces left in the 6-month deep dive coaching program, although I do have 2 conversations coming in the next couple of days that may fill those. And that is a small 6-person group, men and women, where we go through 6 or 7 different exercises that I use in coaching to uncover your core wounds, to uncover why you upper limit and how you upper limit, to improve relationships from the place of understanding how you show and give love, how you communicate and why, how others do, and being able to change the dynamic in your confidence level, in the way that you accept yourself, and answering all the questions that sound something like this. Why do I feel this way? Why does this keep happening to me? Why do I react this way? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why? Okay, all of those questions get answered in this 6-month course, and all the tools that you'll get, you can use forever. And that, you can just go to jjflizanes.com and go to group programs, and then there's an application for the 3 or 6 month coaching programs. And like I said before, I'm not doing any one-on-one coaching with anyone outside of the mastermind or the 6-month group coaching program. Now, those are high-level programs, and they're a serious investment. And because the people that take that serious investment get serious results. It's a pendulum. If you only invest, $9, $10, it's not a big risk. And therefore, you're probably not willing to grow or expand past that because it's safe. And I'm wanting people who want to jump a little. You want to understand that it's not about what you currently are sitting on. It's about what can I create moving forward? How can I stretch myself into the next level? Not what's safe and comfortable and what do I have in my bank account right now. If you've been listening to the show for a while, last year's group of empowerment strategists, Libby talked about, and that's how you can change the world by changing yourself. She talked, that was the title of the episode, but she talked about when she joined the Empowerment Strategist Beta group, she didn't know where the money was going to come from. Every month she didn't know where the money was going to come from, but every month it showed up because Libby's a really great example of jumping and leaping and believing in herself and what she's supposed to be doing in the world, and then allowing the universe to show her. And not only did she pay for it all very, somewhat easily when she came out of it, the other end of it, she was much better off and had manifested everything to make herself extremely comfortable. So with that said, again, jjflizanes.com, group programs under Engage, and you can find that out. 2 more things. There's a group coaching program that is not business. It's just, life and relationships and things like that. And it's called Empower You. And it is $25 a month or $250 for the year. We have 1 group coaching call a month. And then we have 1 or 2 moon ceremonies. I do a full moon circle and a new moon circle and a full moon ceremony. Not every month. It just depends on if the moon happens to land on a time where most of us can get together. And that also includes a 30-day manifestation challenge a couple times in that group, in that private group. It's a separate podcast. It's a separate Facebook group. And you get discounts on other things. All right. So that is the Empower You group membership. I think it's pretty easy. I don't think it's $250 for the year. You save $100 or $50 by paying for the whole year in advance. And if you don't make the meetings, they're all recorded. Every meeting is recorded, and you have access to a course which has all the moon ceremonies and our meetings, as well as the podcast that's only for the members. All right. The last thing, and this is the shout out to those of you who may have a business or may not, or may be thinking about starting a business. Since I've started the mastermind, I've had many, many years of content that I've created on how to start a business. Anywhere from building a profitable website to joint ventures and affiliate relationships to how to market on Instagram. And this year we're doing sales training. We're doing customer service training. We're doing how to write a book. There's over 50 hours currently in that library. And I've taken that library and I've created something, and this is a beta. So it's only going to be offered this one time for 6 months at this price. And I'll tell you what the price is. It's called the Conscious Business Academy. And it's a 6-month commitment at $75 a month, or I think it's $450 in full. It's going to include 1 live content call a month. And again, sales training and how quiz marketing and effective networking and writing your book, and I'm just listing some of the things, how to bring a product to market and how to get sponsorships. Those are some of the ones that are happening this year, but then there's a ton more from years past. And you'll be able to come to that live. So 1 group call, and it's webinar style, so it's not a group coaching program. There's no coaching. And then there's a networking group. So what that means is anybody in this group can come to the networking meeting and exchange ideas, resources, and look for referrals. So it would be saying, hey, I'm looking for anyone who needs help with X, Y, and Z, who either lives here or doesn't live here or whatever, and is this kind of person. Does anybody have anyone that needs that? It's not direct selling. We're not going to sell to each other. We're going to just ask if there's anyone that you know who might be a fit for me. And then everyone's going to network with each other. And if you don't have a business, You can get resources. You can learn from everybody else. You can start to get information. So anyway, there's a few spots left in that beta. It's called Conscious Business Academy. And you would also fill out the mastermind application for that. And we would jump on a call quickly to see if it fits, because I want to test out if business is had, if the education makes you money because you have a new idea, if you create partnerships with anybody in that group to create a product or service, if you get value out of it because of the past content. So that is a beta test. And again, I'm looking for a few more people to do it. And it's January for 6 months. If you're interested, go to jjflizanes.com, group programs, mastermind, fill out the mastermind, and just on somewhere on that form, say this is for the Conscious Business Academy, CBA. All right. All right. So that's enough of what else is offered. So there's a low cost business networking offer. There's a low cost group coaching offer. And then we jump to obviously the high end stuff, which has high touch and even in-person events, and all the other things are included in that. And then, of course I have courses. So you could buy a course, and I will be having a special. I will be having a 1 week 50% off special, but it's only going to be for people on my email list or people on Facebook or Instagram. That's the only place I'm not going to put it here. I want to only give this 50% off special to anyone who I know is connected in a deeper way. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, start there. What else did I say? Oh yeah, I'm only going to, if you're on my email list, and you can sign up for a freebie of some kind that you've had in the past, and you will get the email indicating between Christmas and New Year's what this 50% off special is. And it's going to be really good. So find a way to connect so that you will be able to have access to that. All right. And then again, there's so many things at jjflizanes.com. Please just go check it out. Have a plan. And as I slide today's show into the other show, just be open and allow your intuition to guide you, and figure out how to, not can I, or how can, why you can't. If you can list 5 reasons why you can't do something, I'm going to challenge you right now to list 10 reasons why you can. Why you can, why you should, why you are ready to grow and you're done stalling. So if you're stalling, get ready. Here we go. Today we're going to talk about how can I, or how can you? It's a solo episode. It has been brewing for many weeks or possibly even months, and has gained some momentum over the last couple of episodes, especially with Melanie Benson and stretching yourself into new results, as well as Reverend Michael talking about asking empowering questions. Before we get into today's content, 2 announcements. We have 2 weeks left to apply for the early bird pricing, which is a significant discount and is still underpriced for the Inner Circle Mastermind 2021. There is no cost to apply. It is just a conversation and an application. And if you're on the fence or you're kind of thinking about it, now would be the time. So that is jj'sinnercirclemastermind.com. Again, jj'sinnercirclemastermind.com. The link will be in the show notes. Also, on October 28th, which is a Wednesday, I am hosting a free webinar, Building Your Business with the Law of Attraction. Again, that's Building Your Business with the Law of Attraction. And it starts at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I am giving you a free gift for coming live. And of course, it will only be for those of you that come live. And I have my thoughts about what I'm going to give you. It's going to be very fun and exciting. I'm not going to announce it. It will be a surprise, and I promise you will enjoy it thoroughly. So where to start with today's show? I was rollerblading today, surprise, surprise. And I was thinking about how we humans operate. And, one of the things that we know for sure, and you know this even if you aren't aware you're doing it most of the time, is we have what is our set point. And we've talked about this before with the work with Gay Hendricks and the Big Leap and upper limiting. We have our set point, and that set point is usually created through what we consider normal based on the environment we were raised in. So whatever your parents taught you, talked about, their frequency. Imagine growing up as a child in a frequency of a lot of scarcity, where maybe you couldn't even pay the bills for food or for the lights or for the phone. That kind of scarcity gets embedded in your body, and there's a survival mindset and there's a survival neurological programming that happens around money and around success. So now let's say said child goes into the world and wants to grow. There may be an internal battle of taking a risk because of the upbringing of having scarcity sort of be the normal vibration of what is normal for you. Now, at the same time, imagine a child that grows up in a household where there's wealth and abundance and there's never a need for anything financial. So said child would think, well, why can't I have it? And would have a very different relationship with money, success, and abundance than someone who grew up with scarcity because of their parents' set point, because of tragedies that would happen, whatever the case may be. So we all understand that. But now let's reflect it back onto who we are and how we show up in the world. I didn't grow up in either the scenarios. While money was a conversation sometimes about things, my mother didn't work. My father did. My mother handled the finances. We didn't have fancy things, but we really didn't need much. So I was, guess, right in the middle. Yet my neighbor, growing up, her parents acted as if they had more money than they had. I was to find out later that he would be thrown in jail or fined by the IRS, but they would spend a lot of money they didn't have. So they would always act as if they had a lot of money. And so that abundance mindset for me started to make me think, well, if she can have my neighbor, if she can have all the Cabbage Patch Kids that came out this year, why can't I? Well, if she gets 5 of them, why can't I? Now, I don't mean to sound like a brat here, when you're a child and you're just wondering, but it's a pretty innocent and honest question. It's the stories we tell ourselves and the stories our parents tell us that make us think that we don't deserve, or that it's a problem, or that it's too much, or it's lavish, or it's greedy, or it's being a brat asking for material things. Yet in this form, every growth opportunity, every time we learn something, we want more of what it is we have. It doesn't mean that things will make you happy, but there's nothing wrong with having things. So today's show came about because I had been noticing a theme of, whether it be clients, mastermind members, some of you out there in some of the groups, Inner Circle membership, or in the 30-day manifestation challenge, that people settle with whatever they're used to and make themselves comfortable with whatever they're used to. And while that has its benefits, they're in denial of something more that they may want because they've talked themselves into not wanting it or thinking they can't have it. And I'm going to give you a few examples because this is something to practice. Every single one of you, no matter how much you defend your limitations, no matter how much on one side you say you want change but are unwilling to be uncomfortable, you still can practice and increase and create new neural pathways so that you can experience more success and abundance. So on one side, we have the frequency, and the frequency is that temperature gauge of what you're worth, what you think your value is, or what your parents have told you, or your teachers have told you, or your spouses have told you. But yet we want more. We want more. We know secretly we're worth more. We want to do more. And again, more doesn't mean anything specific. It just means we know that we're living in a box that we no longer fit in. We want to expand and to grow past that box in whatever ways. Again, health, relationships, money, feelings of freedom, peace, joy. You can put any of those things in there. Yet, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Now, I know you've heard that before. You may have heard it many times, but I'm going to repeat it again, and I want you to really take it in. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. How many of you are insane? Seriously. How many of us can look at life and say, well, I'm expecting different results, but I haven't changed my behavior, or I haven't changed my frequency, or I haven't changed any of the routines that I have. So this show of How Can I is to redirect that and to tell you that you can practice this right now. The reason why I have learned what I've learned in life is because anytime I've been in a situation that I don't have control over, or I can't influence to the level I'd like to, rather than focusing on the problem, I focus on the solution. Well, how can I feel better right now? How can I make this different? How can I, in this situation, feel a different way or get different results? So I'm going to tell you a few stories because they're really good examples to me. I mean, I've got so many. I was making notes for today's show, and I'm looking at like 10, and I'm not going to have time for all 10 of these. So let's start out with one of the first times I recognized my innovative, pioneering mindset. And this is before law of attraction became my focal point. I was definitely in that zone, but I wasn't teaching it yet. Or if I was, it was very quiet to the clients that I had. It was before the podcast. This is years and years and years ago. There was a mastermind group that I was in, and the mentor, and I was on like one of the lower levels. She had several levels, and they got really high, up to $100,000 a year. And she had like what was going to be her last event. And I'd always wanted to go to her first couple events, and she'd have a decent amount of people at it. I mean, not a huge amount, but the ticket price was a couple $1,000s. So I wasn't in a financial position to do that. And while I probably could have made it happen with several credit cards or opening a new card or something, I found myself at this stage when she was announcing her last live event. I thought, well, then I have to make this happen. I can't wait till I'm going to be financially secure. I have to find a way to go. So what I did was I reached out to several people who I knew were interested in going, but weren't necessarily as excited or jazzed as I was to go. Like I really wanted this. This was important to me. This was important for my financial success. This was important for my business. I knew that it was going to take me to a next level. And I asked myself, well, how can I do this? How can I go? It was $3,000. And back then, let's see, it was probably at least 15 years ago, maybe more, maybe 16 years ago, 15 or 16 years ago. So I said, how can I do this? And I just decided to ask a handful of people, hey, I want to go to this event, but I can't swing it right now. How many of you would be willing to split the cost with me? And I will come home, copy the manual, and I will teach you what I learn. And I had 5 other people tell me they would do it, which made it very affordable. And it got me to really take that information and learn it more and better, because I had to then turn around and teach it to these other women who had invested in me going. They knew it was the last one. And we weren't all going to put down $3,000 a piece to go, but I became the investment and the teacher for this information because, well, my retention rate's really good and because it was my idea. So anyway, so that was one of the first times I realized that, there's no limitation. There's just the limits we put on ourselves. When I was moving from Long Beach to El Segundo, my ex-husband and I really wanted to get out of Long Beach. Long Beach is lovely in certain places, but we weren't in the best neighborhood. And he was working at the airport at the time, and so he had a commute that was 45 minutes in each direction, and of course, during rush hour, that wasn't really fun. We wanted a better feeling place. And one of my clients had a home in El Segundo, and she said to us at her holiday party the year before, she said, my house that's in El Segundo is going to be coming up for rent in March of that year. Would we be interested? Now, mind you, the financial crash of the real estate market had just happened. It was 2008 into 2009, and there was even a month or two in there that I needed help paying my rent. I'd had all my eggs in one basket. All of my clients were coming from one referral source, and that referral source also stopped getting those high-end clients. So my business literally tanked overnight. This is another reason why you also join a mastermind or have a business coach, because you never want to not diversify your marketing and your offerings. I learned that very well that year. So here I am at a position where I'm having, not the best time even making rent every month. And when I asked her what the price was, there was a $500 difference between what we were currently paying and her house. And so immediately I just said, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm already not feeling safe right now in this current environment to pay the rent right now. I can't pay more. Makes no sense. So a couple months went by, and then I was up in Manhattan Beach doing some exercise with a friend of mine, and my intuition said, go see the house. So I called her and I said, can I see it? I was in the neighborhood, and she said, sure. So I went to the house, and all of a sudden I fell in love with it. I fell in love with everything about it, and it turned from we can't afford it to how can we afford it? And at that moment, I got very creative about many things, and it all worked out. We got rid of our storage unit, which was $100 a month. She lowered the monthly rent. I got a payment plan for the deposit, and she just asked if we would do a few things around the house to better the outside. My ex was an architect, so things like painting the fence or fixing XYZ thing would help with that. So I ended up getting what I wanted, and I ended up finding a way to make it work because I changed my mindset from no, I can't to how can I? I got out of the way and allowed myself to be shown the way. I asked for things that maybe someone wouldn't normally ask for, but you never know until you ask. Another big one for me is, you guys know some of the story of wanting to come out of my shell, so to speak. I've been branded exercise, named best personal trainer, been doing exercise, really good at biomechanics and science. And that's the box I was in for years. I didn't want to be in that box. And I kept listening to other experts and people, from therapists to producers, who kept saying, just stay in your lane. You're getting PR here. You're really good. You're known in this area. Lead with that. Right? But the problem was I didn't want to be that anymore. I didn't want to show up as that, just as that. That'll always be a part of who I am. But I wanted my expansion to move forward. I wanted my new identity of what I'm doing in the world to be what I led with. I wanted to rebrand. And I kept listening to the fear of everybody around me saying, you can't do that. You're not qualified to do that. So even under the circumstance of me not having any support, now maybe one person who could see things in me that I hadn't really seen before. I take that back. 2 people. And they're both people that I've worked with, like therapists or coaches or healers. So I had a little bit of a reflection that you could do this, JJ. You could do this. I knew I could do it. But I just had fear of people criticizing me or asking, why are you doing this? You're not qualified to do this. But I did it anyway. I decided that after doing Spirit, Purpose, and Energy for a year and having enough of you reach out to me and doing enough of the 30 Manifestation Challenge groups and answering questions over and over again and doing a ton of videos, I was like, I'm ready. Now, I wasn't ready to just step out and be who I was fully because I still was learning who that was. And I honestly didn't feel I was enough. When I put Releasing What Weighs You Down on for the first time in 2018, I made sure to pad it with enough experts and information and different content to guarantee that anyone coming to that event would get something out of it for sure. I didn't feel confident enough that I could actually pull it off by myself. I didn't know really that the content that I have to teach would be enough for everyone. And it's taken me several events to understand that. Now, it didn't hurt. Those of you that came to the event said, we want more of you. And I kept at every event putting myself more forward instead of in the background. When I would take time away from certain exercises because I knew everybody was getting tired or overwhelmed or had just had enough, I would take my stuff out. Now, why did I do that? Because I wasn't confident enough to do it myself. I wasn't confident enough. And plus I felt a little bit of guilt for everybody in the room who had dedicated their time, energy, and expertise to serve my community. Now, mind you, all of those people made money and most of them made more money than me. I didn't do this for money. I did this to rebrand and to step into who I was more and more. And for those of you that were at that event, thank you for coming. Thank you for believing in me. And thank you for also giving me the feedback of what it is that you get from me. All right, one more quick story. So at that time, after we moved, because we did move, and we were making the rent, it was fine. Business was picking up a little bit, but it hadn't picked up enough yet. And one of the things I told my father years ago, he used to say, do you have enough money? And I'd say, Dad, if I need more money, I'll go get another job. Just think about that for a second. All right. I've always been an entrepreneur pretty much, even when I worked for the gym, because as an actor or actress, that's part of what you do. You're always looking for a job because you want to perform. You want to be in the arts, and you're going to need some kind of temp job or, waitering job or some kind of income that you're going to not necessarily love to do, which that wasn't me, by the way. That's the reason why I became a trainer. But you're going to be looking for different jobs. So it's never a one thing that you do every day the same way. So in a way, I've always been entrepreneurial. I just wasn't willing to continue to put myself out there in the entertainment world as to ask permission to be picked for something when I knew I could just create the thing I wanted to and cast myself. It always made much more sense for me to just believe in me and make those decisions versus putting myself in front of someone else and not begging for a job. That's not what I think auditioning is, by the way, for those of you that are in the arts. If you go in knowing you are who you are and you either fit or you don't fit, then you don't feel like a victim. But many people in the arts feel victimized when they don't get picked for the job or they change themselves. And that, again, goes against everything I believe that has to do with self-worth and empowerment and law of attraction. So when we were in the new house and business was picking up, but not quite as much yet, I was getting to the point where I thought, okay, and I battled it for years. I thought I need to get another job. I can't tell you how it pained me. Pained me so deeply that I was resisting it for so long because of the idea that I failed. Because of the idea that if I get a job, then I have failed myself. I couldn't do this. I couldn't hack it. But at some point in 2010, I had to make peace with that. And this is another great law of attraction exercise that you can do that will help you pivot and ask yourself, instead of saying, I can't afford that, I can't do that, how can I? So I asked myself, all right, if you had to get a job, what would be the best case scenario? What would it have to look like? What would it have to feel like? What would it have to be in order for me to be happy with it or at least not hate it? So here in California, we have it was a brand new resort built in 2008 called Terranea. We just moved to El Segundo in 2010, and I'm in this new house that I love. And I'm asking myself, okay, is your pride going to get the best of you, or can you just go make peace with this and go figure it out? So I wasn't going to work in a gym. That was going to not be happy on any level. So I thought to myself, well, where would I thought about it first in a law of attraction sense. What would it have to look like or feel like? What's the environment that I'm in? And immediately I thought the ocean. Oh, what about the resort? They have a gym on the property. What if I worked in the gym? And it's a high-end resort, so it would probably pay better than the gyms. And it would probably be really flexible because it's not a gym that anyone just goes to. It's not heavily occupied. And I bet people want trainers when they're staying there for a week or two, not all the time. So I applied. I got the job. I did my 2 days of training. And within those 2 days of training, I had made such peace with being there that I didn't need it any longer. I got my first book deal that week. I also got a new client who paid for 10 sessions up front to the tune of $3,000 or $5,000. So right then and there, my whole trajectory changed because I made peace with whatever I had resistance to, which was getting a job. I found the best way I could do it that would feel good to me so that I wasn't out of integrity with myself. And once I released resistance and surrendered, I got what I wanted. I got more than I wanted. I got a book deal. I got paid to write my first book with an agent. So all this to say, when your first knee-jerk reaction is, I can't, nope, can't afford that, can't do that, don't have the time for that, don't want to do that, I can't. You keep yourself stuck. And if it's something that you don't want to do because it is out of alignment with who you are, that's one thing. But how many of you are stopping yourselves on a regular basis because you have fear? Fear is not going to be the place of alignment with which to make the best decisions, right? We know that when you're in alignment and you follow the impulse, Source is a co-creator with you to lead you to what it is that you want. When you're out of alignment and you're in fear, you're not connected to Source. Worry, scarcity, limitation, that's what's coming up for you. Old patterning, but you can change that. I want you to start by asking, how can I? What is something that you want to do that you haven't given yourself permission to do? What is something that you need to do that you know would be in your best interest, but for some reason you have resistance to it? Ask yourself, how can I? So part of what's going on right now in this calendar space and time is we're up for renewing the Inner Circle Mastermind. And I know that I interviewed Charlene Parks. We did a show called Elevating Your Career Path, and she said it on the show that when she came to the Manifestation Bootcamp last year, she was actually looking for a mastermind. In the back of her mind, she'd been told, you need a mastermind, you need a mastermind. So when she saw the offer, she thought, oh my God, I'm asking for a mastermind. Now, you'd think that because someone was looking, that the immediate answer would be, well, perfect. I asked for it. Here it is. Yes. But what she shared on the show was she had sticker shock. And she said, nope, I can't do that. And then she went to bed and she woke up in the morning and knew that she needed to do it. So she signed up. So when it comes to our intuition, and again, we have that first level of resistance of nope. We are limiting ourselves to staying exactly where we are. In order for us to grow, we have to trust that future. We have to trust ourselves enough to ask the questions of how can I? So another example, one of the members is moving on and doing next year as well. And I've divided, they were all on the same plan this year, but next year I have 2 tracks. There's a track called the Essential Level, and that is a little bit less of my time and it's less money. And there's the executive track, and the executive track is more money, more in alignment with where my pricing should be. It's still too low, both of them, and they'll never be this low again. And one of my members, I sent out an email to all of them, and I also told them if they were on the fence they could do this survey that I'm going to give everybody to kind of review their year and look at their wins and what blocked them and where did they let fear and upper limiting block them from success. Now, mind you, we have had an interesting year with COVID and people having to pivot. So I think there's been a lot of success in ways we would not have measured in other years because everyone, literally everyone, has had to pivot and learn how to be creative in a very new environment. So one of my members who wrote back, and because she was on the fence and she wasn't sure what to do, and we had a conversation about it. And all the while I'm thinking, well, this conversation is because she's not sure if she should continue on or not. And by the middle of it, she said, this is not a conversation about how I can use this tax write-off and get money back. And I understand that. And she's like, I'm wondering which track to do. And I thought, oh, okay, I didn't see that one coming. So ultimately, she is choosing to do the more expensive, more time with me, more focused track. And I was super shocked, but of course elated, because one of my struggles has been this year is over-delivering in the inner circle and over-delivering in my Ultimate Podcast Mastermind. Because again, while I am confident to a certain degree, I am not proven in either one of these areas. And so I underpriced both of them, extremely underpriced both of them. So after this mastermind client of mine had this conversation with me and told me that she was going to do the executive track, which is the higher level track, I immediately wanted to make sure she understood a quick way for her to make her money back. Now, I wasn't trying to convince her to do it. She had already decided. She already talked with her husband and she was already committed. But I wanted to make sure she was going to make her money back, and she knew a couple of different ways to do that immediately. And then whether she took action on it was up to her, but I wanted to empower her with the reasons how to do that. What are the ways in which you can quickly make your money back? In fact, somebody else in the group also wondered, well, as I'm starting this business, as I'm doing this part-time, how can I make the money back? And I gave her another way, and we counted it, and it became very clear and easy. When I was first getting into doing personal training online, one of my clients lived in Arizona, and we were doing Skype and phone, and she said, no, I can't do this. I need to be able to see you. I need you to work me out like a trainer. And she was my first Skype client, Dr. Lisa Gelper, back in 2009. And one of the things that Lisa did was when we decided how much that was going to be, because she wanted to work out, once or twice a week, she said, well, how much is it? And then she calculated how many new clients she would need to get to cover that expense. Now, Lisa's a very good entrepreneur and always believes in herself and her ability to make money. But here's another example of, rather than saying, I can't afford it, ask, how can I afford it? How can I afford to do this thing? What would I need to do differently in order to afford it? In fact, one of my other clients, who's going to be retiring soon from her teaching job, some of the things that we talk about in her sessions are things that she's finally getting to the point where she says, well, how can I do more of this? How can I afford more of this? See, for many of you that aren't entrepreneurs at all, you are used to getting a paycheck from someone. And literally one person pays you, one company pays you. So your ability to think out of the box may not be exercised to the degree that it could be. And I'm inviting all of you right now to start to exercise your brain and your mind and your ideas and your innovations, and ask, how can I, instead of I can't. Because when you say I can't, you literally stop growing. You stop yourself from getting to that next level that you keep saying that you want. So when you have this internal battle of I want it, but why can't I have it? You're the one stopping yourself. If you're not coming up with a solution of a different story, And that's the other thing. How many of you are telling yourselves stories that just aren't true? Then you're getting this emotional reaction about it. And then you're wondering why, again, you're spinning. One of my clients, starts to move 2 steps forward, 3 steps forward, gets excited, has a scarcity thought of, oh my God, this is going to take over my life and I can't do this, creates some kind of upper limit of worry so that she can be knocked right back down to where she was. Now, I know a lot of you deal with that. And some of you are taking small steps. And some of you know it's time to make a big step. So how can you? What needs to happen? Another story about, again, our resistance blocks our growth. And my very first event that I did on my own was back in 2009, and it was my Fit to Love book. It was like a weekend course that I did, and I actually did do it all by myself. But again, it was teaching just from my book. I wasn't doing law of attraction necessarily, maybe a little bit. And that was actually the first time I started talking about astrology by accident. I had mentioned something in passing, and then I was asked a million questions and ended up taking an hour of the curriculum and put it on astrology, which I had no intention of doing. It should have been my first indication I needed to bring astrology in sooner to everything I'm doing publicly. I was doing it privately, but not publicly. So after that event was over, I looked at my books and I thought, God, I don't think I made any money doing this. Now, this is prior to Releasing What Weighs You Down. This is prior to a whole bunch of things. And I was really stressed about it because I gave my heart and soul. I put on a good event. I fed everybody. I had sponsors. It was a great event. But here I am looking at the numbers and, it wasn't my strength. But I had shame about it. I had shame about not being good at it. I had shame about not being good with QuickBooks. I had shame about not doing a budget. Budgets are not my strength. But I knew that something had to give. And again, this is how I also applied this to, it's the same idea of making peace with. So I said to myself, okay, I have to, I need help. I cannot do this by myself. I am not good in these areas. I need support. All right, so what's the problem? The problem is I have shame. I have shame that someone's going to look at this and then think poorly of me. So what do I need to do? I need to find someone who already knows, likes, and trusts me and who thinks of me in a good way, that no matter what they see on paper, they're not going to judge me harshly or change their opinion of me. That's how insecure I was at that point. So I thought of the perfect person. He was my client and he was an enrolled agent and he was an older man who just wants to be helpful. Older men, especially after they get out of their prince stages and they're in their king stage, they're literally looking to mentor people, and not because they want to get paid, because they want to be of service. So for all you women out there listening to that, when a man who's older is giving you unsolicited advice, it's not a judgment against you. It's literally because he's looking to be of service. Men generally want to be of service, and women do too. And that's why women also give unsolicited advice, but for a different reason. Now, I'm overgeneralizing, but I just want to put that out there because it is part of the growth of men and of that masculine energy of men. And so I knew that because of his age and his position in life, that he just really wanted to be of service to me. And I needed someone to be of service to me. And I offered to pay him through dinner and wine. And I needed a regular check-in. So I needed someone who wouldn't judge me. I needed to be regular. I needed to be able to face the music on a regular basis for accountability, because I know me. I pay for accountability. That's why I have a bookkeeper come once or twice a month. She sits in this chair so I can't. And it's the best couple $100 I spend every time. Also, a couple of months ago, I started dealing with, again, another upper limit for me. And, what I want to make sure you understand is that I'm challenging you to grow through this show, through what I'm telling you. And I am also growing. And I am willing and wanting to grow. And I have upper limits also. Every time you get to a new level of abundance, success, and joy, and your temperature increases for what you're able to receive and allow, there will be more upper limiting at the next level. It's part of the growth process. In exercise, it's the same thing. When you do a routine for a little while and your body adapts to it, it's no longer effective anymore. It might be good for blood flow, but it won't get you more results because your body has adapted, so it's good at it. So now we need to increase the resistance, increase the intensity, in order for you to keep getting results. Well, it's the same thing in business and in life, in your relationships, in your health, in your happiness. in challenging you to be in the moment, challenging you to change your routines, change your stories, pick a new environment, get out of your comfort zone. For me, with So Much Fire, I take action, no problem. But for a lot of you who've got earth, moons, or air signs, a lot of air, there's a lot of thinking. There's a lot of mental processing and not a lot of motion, not a lot of action. Same thing with you earth signs. You could just be real. Sometimes the only way that you end up moving is by manifesting something that pushes you. And we've talked about this before on the show. So just be aware that your astrological blueprint will also give you indications of when you absolutely have to do something to push you outside of your comfort zone because you will not do it willingly. And rather than wait for disease or disaster or some kind of accident to happen to make it happen, please know that your inner voice, your higher consciousness, your deeper soul, that voice on the inside of you that knows it wants something and it's meant for more, it will find a way for you to get it, even at the expense of you being very uncomfortable. So when you get out ahead of it and you know it and you listen to that inner voice, a lot of you have a dream. You have a dream about how you want your life to be or your work or your relationship, but you're not doing it and you're doing nothing about it. And the only thing you're going to do is repress that voice because it will continue to get bigger and bigger until something happens where you have to face the music or it forces you in a different direction. So a couple of weeks ago, I hit my upper limit and I thought I could handle it by myself because I usually can. And I did all the tools that I know to do. And I sort of just let my intuition tell me. And after, 4 weeks of it, 5 weeks of it, 6 weeks of it, I have a very low threshold for pain and discomfort. When something bothers me emotionally or physically, I do something about it. I don't ignore it. I don't repress it. To a certain degree, sometimes I may, in the moment, but I don't let it go too many days. And I definitely don't let it go weeks or months. And all of a sudden now I'm sitting with the same pit in my stomach, the same disappointment in myself and anger and frustration. And I didn't like it. I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like the story I was telling. So I decided it was time for me to hire my own coach. And I've worked with people in the past. It's been a couple of years since I had some regular appointments with a healer, therapist, or coach. And it was time. And, for me, I've used the excuse that I can't find someone like me. I can't find someone with astrological, law of attraction, all of the tools that I have, because that's what I would love. I would love to be able to coach myself, which I do a lot, but I'd love to have someone who I could speak the same language with. And I wasn't finding that, of course, except Dr. Christian Northrup, who I don't think she's doing private sessions. And I don't think she's doing it on coaching or business. And that's what I needed. So I booked myself a session with Dr. Cherie Carter-Scott. We had that session last week, and she's been on the show several times. She's literally the first person to wake me up. Her book, If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. And it was a very good session. I learned so much, and within 40 minutes, I could identify the root cause of what was really going on for me underneath the story I was telling myself and underneath all of the emotions I was having that I couldn't make sense of. And when we had that session, she did something really interesting with me. And while it was more cerebral than emotional, I was able to notice that there's a huge difference. And I know for a lot of you, I work with you in more of a cerebral way. But those of you that have done EFT with me, or, we've gone through the needs and emotions, I also can take you through an emotional processing. And so what we identified in my coaching with her was the reasons, and then we discussed what I was going to do about it. And one of the things I knew I needed to do was I needed to express myself and to emote. And so I would need to take the tools I talked to you about and go do them. And I did. But the point of this story is that we all need help getting to that next level. We all are on a path on a journey of the unknown. You don't know what it's like to feel more joy, love, success, and abundance than you already do. And while you may say that you want it, until you stretch yourself in a meaningful way, with accountability, to do things outside of your comfort zone to get there, you may never get there. Just wanting it isn't enough. Taking action that's disconnected, that's not in alignment, and that's fueled with scarcity is also not the greatest choice. But getting into alignment with who you really are. So back to Charlene, when she saw the ticket price for the mastermind last year and she knee-jerked, that was an upper limit, even though she knew she wanted a mastermind. That's why she went to sleep. She woke up fresh and her intuition was clear. And she said, I'm going to make it happen. I know I need this. This is what I wanted. I came here asking for this. Here it is. Do I think I'm worth this? And of course, the answer was yes. So I want you to start asking yourself, how can I? How can I get what I want? How can I, even if it's one step at a time, even if it's like I did with Releasing What Weighs You Down and asking 5 other people to participate in the event, or like I did with the business event of the mastermind that I was in for $3,000. I asked people to invest. It was a completely out of the box idea, and it worked. And everybody won. I got to go. I got to get the information. They got to get the books and the information and have me teach them. And we even created a little networking group that met every couple of weeks to go through the information. So instead of knee-jerking that your limitations are going to rule you, I invite you to just remember this question. Anytime you say, I can't, but you want to, ask yourself, how can I? Allow yourself to get into alignment, to get information, downloads, opportunities, and manifestations to help you do whatever it is that you want to do. Check in with if you're coming from fear or if you're coming from abundance, because that will also be the determining factor of how you're making decisions. So please use how can I as your new mantra when something is presented to you or you have an idea about something that you want and then you knee-jerk into scarcity and fear and worry and shut yourself down. Because we do not change until we break through these patterns. We do not grow. We do not expand until we literally rewrite the neural pathways by taking a risk, by being innovative, by doing something different. For many of you, doing something is better than doing nothing. Now, that's not advice for everybody. For me, it's the wrong advice. But you know who you are. If you're someone who's been at the same job that you've hated for most of your life, why are you still there? Please don't wait to get cancer so that you can quit without having guilt about it. We have to learn how to love ourselves enough to ask for what we want and to empower ourselves to get it. Stop blaming your family, stop blaming your spouses, stop blaming your children, stop blaming your friends, stop blaming the world, if this is you, for the reasons why you can't do something. Because the only person responsible for ever getting anything for you is you. So I hope today put a fire under your butt. For those of you that are business owners or want to be business owners, I will say again that you have 2 weeks left for the Inner Circle Mastermind Early Bird. The price will go up after November 1st for everyone. No one will get in for the early bird pricing after November 1st because that is my commitment of integrity to myself. It's already underpriced. And the only way I could make peace with the price right now is to make it a limited time. Past that, I have to honor my time because I give a lot. You can hear it. You feel it. Those of you listening to me for a while, you know that I present to you the same energy, care, and concern, and aid, and support, and help, and coaching when you're in something like an Inner Circle member, Inner Circle Mastermind especially. So if you're upper limiting yourself with, I can't afford it, but you know in your heart you need it, then ask yourself, how can I? Allow the universe to guide you and show you, because the price is not going down. It's only going to go up again and again. I may level. Next year will go up again. Now, the year after that, who knows where we're going to be. But I can tell you right now, the pricing for this year will go up for the next year. So don't wait for it to get cheaper because it won't. So if you would like to take your power and, if you look back at 2020 and you thought, wow, I'm such a victim of circumstance because of XYZ. And again, it is a very different environment. But one of the best things that you can do for yourself is empower yourself to have choice under any circumstance. And I promise you, you do. You just don't see it. You've never tried it. It may be scary. It challenges your self-worth. It challenges your stability. I understand all of that. But you're not going to grow and get this freedom and joy and security and love and passion and alignment that you possibly are looking for if you're not allowing yourself to step beyond that which you know. Sometimes you have to believe in yourself to take the risk. So again, anyone interested in early bird pricing for the Inner Circle Mastermind, please go to jjsinnercirclemastermind.com. You only have until the 31st to secure that. I appreciate you. I love you. I support you. I want the best for you. In fact, I want the best for you probably more than many of you do. And that's another reason why you have a coach or a group, because they usually can see higher and more than you allow yourself to. And having that kind of support can make all the difference in moving to the next level of your growth and expansion. Please take this question today and use it today. How can I? How can I get what I want? How can I do what I want to do? How can I achieve what I want to achieve? Universe, show me the way. Have a great week.